Although I may be missing my podcast co-host back in cold, dreary Spokane, it's kind of worth it at this point because I am now in Kauai and enjoying some 80-degree weather. And even though it's raining, it's definitely not a cold rain. Elliot, good luck with the podcast with TC tonight. I appreciate that, and I'll be back before you know it for future podcasts. Go Chiefs, go!
Well, I have a new co-host this week because my usual is in Hawaii. Lucky bastard. I'm jealous.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? It's my second time on. I think it's been, I don't know, two,
Couple
three
weeks.
episodes since.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. But you're kind of the guy that's coming in periodically and stuff too. And I know you only watched one game this last week, but
yeah,
obviously not good things coming from these guys right now.
yeah, they're falling off a little bit. I don't really have an answer for why. It seems to have started at the end of the Eastern swing, and they're just kind of, I don't know, going through the motions a little bit. Not sure.
I don't know if
Hard to say.
it's yeah, I don't know if it's like they were so used to winning at the start of the year that now that they're losing, they're kind of having trouble regaining their footing a little bit. I
Hmm.
almost wonder if that's because these guys are young too,
Yeah,
and we haven't been great the last couple of seasons too. So like once you get the little taste of of winning like you did, and it's like once you lose that, it's like how do we get back there? I don't know
yeah.
if it's something like that or if what is it, but it's the turnovers that are really just the killer. I mean, it's been tough. And it's been like
Yeah,
that for 4 or 5 games straight now.
yeah, like you said, I've missed a lot of games because I just had my second kid like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, other than that we went to that Tuesday game
Hmm.
last week, and yeah, it was just bad turnover after bad turnover. Um, they just looked really slow and disinterested, and yet even despite that, like they were still in the game for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
after I mean they had a little bit of a comeback because they fell down what 4-0 in the first period. Is
Yeah.
that what it was? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean they ended up making it a respectable score at the end, but um, it's hard to say. Maybe it's the first adversity they face this year. It's still early, so I mean there's no reason to panic.
For
Also,
sure.
then they lost to Tri City, but Tri City's won like 9 in a row or something. So
Yeah, they
I
won. They
mean,
beat Everett last night in overtime too.
yeah, I mean, so they caught a hot team there. Um, you know, Edmonton was also hot. They played them.
Yeah. I,
Hard to
I
say.
I was I was a little bit surprised with how good Edmonton was because they were like I think they had like 2 wins coming into that game or coming into their road trip, I should say.
Hmm.
Like and then they slaughtered Portland 7-1. And then
Yeah,
I mean they just look like a really well put together team against us.
it could be a matter of seeing that there is a bit of a talent gap between the West and the East. I mean, we already knew that the East was better top to bottom
Yeah.
between both conferences than the West was. I mean, the U.S. is always consistently really good. The BC is always the one that kind of like, maybe two or three good teams. The rest of them are kind of mid.
Hmm.
So it could just be that talent gap difference where Edmonton had just ran into a buzzsaw in their own conference, and then they got like a bit of a reprieve playing teams out west. And I mean, same as the East, we always like to say how the Eastern swing for the Chiefs can sometimes galvanize the group. You know,
100%.
they tend to play well. It's the same thing for the Eastern teams when they do their Western swing, right? So, I mean, they're
Absolutely.
also on a long bus trip, just doing it the inverse direction. So, could be a little bit of that. Seeing some places they don't go to very often. Maybe some of the players have local family. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe some
but
BC kids. I mean, coming down for that game, whatever. But no, that's very true. And I think that
oh
again,
crap,
it
could have
like you
lost you.
said. Oh, you lost me. Oh,
I
your
swear.
video's frozen. I still hear you. Boy, that is a really creepy face you're making.
Oh yeah, I think I lost you for a
I'm
second. You're
here.
like going in and out. Hold on. Let me.
Oh, it says my internet is
Can you hear me?
unstable, but yeah, I can hear you.
Hmm.
I hear you, but I don't see you. You're frozen.
Yeah.
All right. What were we talking about? I forgot.
I had mentioned something about them being on their western swing then as in Edmonton. I think that's
Oh,
kind of where
right.
I cut
Yeah,
out
yeah.
or we had some connection problems.
Well, and like you said at the start of that, it's still only a month into the season, so obviously you can't, panic and who knows what the standings are going to look like toward, the end of January, February.
Mhm.
It could be completely different than what it is now. I mean, Tri-Cities is on a heater right now. Who knows if they stay hot and consistent the rest of the year? They could be leading the division. Everett could have a little down slope or whatever. I mean, anything can happen at this point. But
Yeah.
I don't think we really need to kind of worry too much yet. But a lot of this stuff is pretty concerning because it really reminds you of the last couple of years.
Well, you know what? And they brought the coaching staff they brought in for a reason. And this is
100%.
where coaches make their money. It's getting everybody back into the structure, um, you know, getting them
Yeah,
off the schneid. If a coaching staff can't get them off the schneid, can't get them back into the structure, then they're not doing their job. So this is why
exactly.
you have a coaching staff that they brought in that they spent money on. I don't know how much. That doesn't really get talked about in this league, how
Mm-mm.
much coaches are paid, but I would assume they gave him a decent chunk of money
Oh
for
yeah.
this level. And, because he's very accomplished. So, and I mean, I don't have any doubts that he can right the ship. It's just a matter of getting everybody back on track. And, they're young guys. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure. And who
is what
knows
it
when a
is.
team can catch fire? A team could catch fire at any time too. And like you said, anything can really happen. It's still early, so I don't think we need to
Mhm.
panic too much. But I almost wonder if that's kind of something that's in the back of the players' heads too. Is like, the guys that were here last year, they're thinking like, oh man, here we go again, like that CJ meme from Grand Theft Auto. Ah shit, here we go again. But who knows?
Yeah,
That
I
could
don't know.
play a part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is, or all you can do is hope that the leadership group and the coaching staff can get it back on track. I mean, and honestly, we're complaining about a Schneid and where they've lost like I don't know 3 of their last 5 games or something like
Yeah,
that, and it's
yeah,
like, I mean, they got off to a really good start, and that's where like when you get off to the start that you get off to, it's nice because it allows for you to have some room for error at a
for
certain
sure,
point. You
for
don't want
sure.
to be the team that starts off super slow and then you spend the entire season chasing the standings. They don't
Exactly.
have to do that yet. So um, there's really no reason to panic.
100%. I agree. But some of the things that I wanted to kind of talk to you about and get your opinion on is like some of the stuff that I've noticed the last few games too is we've really stopped making tape to tape passes. Like we're passing right into guys' skates again, and then turn
Mhm.
that's ended up with turnovers and the puck in the back of our net.
Yeah.
So how do they adjust to that?
I mean, accurate passing, we know they can do it. I mean,
Yeah,
we've seen it that when the year started, it seemed like every pass was tape to tape.
yeah,
It's a mentality. It's about staying locked in and focused and not, you know, I mean, it sounds cliche and it is. It's a cliche hockey thing, but oh, keep your stick on the ice. Like it is. I mean, that's why coaches preach that.
Mhm.
Like as for the passing at the skates or, missing guys entirely for icings, again, it's an effort level thing and it's a concentration thing. And, again,
Yeah.
these guys, they're not NHLers, and even NHLers make these same mistakes where, they're passing into skates or they're, you know, missing somebody wide and it goes down for an icing. So
Yeah.
it's purely just they just again they gotta refocus.
Yeah,
I can't think
and
of any other option.
I no, you're spot on. I completely agree. It's just interesting considering the start of the season how we were so locked in with stuff like that too. And
Hmm.
I mean, the last few seasons even too, like with the start of the year, we started off really hot and it started
Hmm.
off doing things the right way, and then it slowly started to kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see that happening this season with these guys, but guys are obviously excited to come into a new season and stuff too, so maybe that could be part of it as well. Um, Dawson Cowan's been letting in some pretty questionable goals lately too. I almost wonder if something's up with him. Like, I don't want to speculate too much, obviously, but it's some of those goals really obviously ones that he's going to want back. It and that I don't want to say it costs us the game because most of the time he's still making huge saves when guys turn the puck over. I mean, he faced more breakaways in the last 3 games that he has at all the whole season so far. So
Hmm.
I mean, you got to look at it from the goalie's point of view too. Is if your guys aren't keeping the puck on the other end of the ice and letting the other team come down the ice with odd man rushes, it's like 9 times out of 10, it's going to be put in the back of the net.
Yeah, and that was one thing about when they traded Michael Luck um, in favor of I'm sorry, what is our
Essler.
backup's name? Essler. Yeah, damn. Oh, just completely escaped my head. So here's the thing. Like they obviously had two starting goalies.
Yeah.
One of them, that's a benefit of riches in this league. You can't really do that, especially because they only play 2 to 3 times a week. It's
Right.
it's pretty consistent scheduling. You can get guys in rhythm. It's not like the NHL or the AHL where you play on Monday through Friday or whatever. Like they play. There's not a set day of the week where they don't
Right.
play. Right. So and the NHL, as an aside, has kind of started to shift towards having two starting goalies per team, and the teams that have that are usually the ones that you see going far in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Now, for this level of hockey, like
It's completely different.
they yeah, they have this guy who's really good in count. And but they have to insulate the rookie because they can't overexpose him at 17 years old.
Right.
So they can only play him once every, I don't know, 2 weeks or so, right? So now you're putting Cowan in a lot, and he's seeing a lot of shots, and especially with all these turnovers and having to be continually locked in. And I mean, I'm defending him here, but also the one game that I went to on Tuesday or last Tuesday, he let in some very bad goals in the
Mhm.
first period, and that was ultimately the difference. I mean, it
Yeah.
was. But after that, I mean, remember going to the locker room, we were like, yeah, they got to pull him, right? Like they got to put Essler in.
Mhm.
He's let in 4 goals on 4 pretty bad shots. I mean, I guess one of them was okay.
Yeah.
And then he came out, much to our surprise, and was awesome.
Yeah. He
And
was
allowed
pretty
the
locked
team,
in the
yeah,
rest of the game.
he allowed the team to get back into the game by making some really good saves. But the damage was already done, and they didn't have the firepower that night, and a lot of incomplete passes. And
Well, and that goes to show the importance of getting off to a good start too. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a 60-minute game, and if you don't play a 60-minute game, then you're going to lose. Not every time, obviously, because other teams go through that too. But at least half the time, it's like it's not going to go your way if you let a goal, whatever, in the back of your net at the first intermission. It's like that's not how you want to start a game, and that can be a huge momentum thing and like confidence for the whole
Mhm.
team for the rest of the game too. And it's
I mean,
something that I've really been noticing.
ice tilt's a funny thing, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody talks about momentum isn't real, but it is very real and tangible in hockey. And I mean, it can be you can have a 3-0 lead in the third period, let a goal in, and then all of a sudden the team that was down 3-0 now 3-1
Oh.
looks like they're the best team in the world all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Like it happens. Like
It does.
it's a confidence game, and that kind of pulls back into the passing issues. Is it's just it might be a lack of confidence. Like when they're whipping it around and buzzing around and cycling and doing all this stuff, and it's all working. I mean, you can see the confidence. So like you can almost see it like in the
Oh, yeah.
air, right? But when they're not doing that, they look lackadaisical and slow and lazy.
Yeah.
And it's just again they're maybe in the dog days of some early season. Maybe they're tired. I mean they
Yeah.
shouldn't be. I don't know, but
I mean,
coaching.
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that it could be. Maybe it's just a little bit of lack of confidence, like you said, the dog days. I mean, it can happen at any point too with any team. But they did end up bouncing back on Friday. Honestly, I thought that was a pretty good game overall. I know you weren't there, but I was trying to give you a little bit of updates every once in a while and stuff. Really even game through the first period. The Chiefs outshot Portland 13-5 in the first, and then the Chiefs put up 24 shots in the second period. I mean, honestly, they were just firing pucks on net all night, and Portland's goaltender played unreal, like they seem to always do every single season.
Yep.
But they finally ended up breaking through in the second period. Shea Van Olm stays hot, picked up another goal off a Berkly Catton shot that hit off the crossbar, and then Portland answered back about 6 minutes later, and then got another one late in the second period to go up 2-1 going into the intermission. So that's kind of another thing too. It's like with late period goals, regardless of the period, going into an intermission after giving up, a late goal in the last 2 minutes or whatever, that can be a huge, momentum killer for you guys too. And that's something that no team wants to have happen. But the Chiefs, thankfully, came out playing same game they had been playing the first two periods, and Mays scored one about 7 minutes in, and then Van Olm scored on the power play with just under 2.5 left and gave us a lead with Ekstrom firing home the empty netter, and they ended up pulling off. They outshot Portland 50-28 on the game, which is crazy. And I know since their streak has been broken, but it's so nice seeing Portland lose 8 games in a row. Like, those guys have been too good for too long. I'm ready for a Portland downfall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say they're not going to figure it out, though.
Oh, hell no.
I mean, like, I haven't seen anything in the last, I don't know, 15 years that's made me think that they won't figure it out. But hey,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't hate a downfall either.
No,
So,
I mean, they lost 8 in a row, and they actually ended up winning on Saturday night. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was Seattle, I think, but nonetheless, the U.S. division is still a really tight race right now. Everett's like they got 6 points on us, and then Tri-Cities is actually I think Tri-City passed us in the standings after beating Everett last night. And
yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, so it's pretty tight.
Yeah, I will say though, they're a point. So we have 20 points at 10-7, which that's kind of eye-opening. I didn't even realize we were down to 10, or down to 10-7.
Yeah.
From where we were. But Tri-City has 21 points at 10-3-1, so they have 3 games in hand on us.
Yeah.
So, but that all evens out eventually.
That's probably just because we had our Eastern trip so early.
Yeah, and then Everett. I mean, hard to not be impressed with 13-2-1 to start the season. That's
insane.
nuts. That's like what the Jets are doing in the NHL right now. Like, I think the Jets are 11-1.
They are, yeah. I watched their game yesterday. They look unreal. They look like a completely different team than they were last year too, which ironically was coached by our assistant coach was Brad Lauer.
Connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a tight race. The top 4 teams are all separated by about 8 points. So,
yeah.
Yeah, and then conference wise, we're right there. 4th. Okay. It's November.
Yeah.
There's still, let's see, they played 17 games out of a 62 game season. So, I mean,
yeah. It's still too early to be staring at the standings for sure.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I think I've looked all year until literally just now. So,
yeah.
And look, like, not to trash on Kelowna, but just saying, our next game's against Kelowna on Tuesday. So,
yep.
And they're in dead last, I think, in the league. So,
the only thing that I worry about,
be a win.
The only thing that I worry about with Kelowna is TJ Ginla. I mean, he's off to a great start this year too, and he's climbing up the scoring ranks too. And the Andrew Cristall, who gets back from Washington Capitals camp too, and they've been on a line together, and they've seemed to be running it really well. So I think it's going to be a pretty good game. Either way, I'm really curious to see if Cowan's going to start or if we're going to start Ryan Tamlin, who's up right now with Carter Essler being at the U17s. I wouldn't be shocked to see Tamlin, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked to see them throw Cowan back out there either. Because, I mean, obviously he knows that he's the number one guy now, so he wants to play every game. He's not going to play every game, but he wants to, and so maybe getting him in there against a team that is struggling to put the puck in the back of the net, like Kelowna, could help boost his confidence back up a little bit too after a couple of shaky games last week.
Mhm. I mean, just looking at the next three games over the span of this week, if I had to guess, since they have uh, a game, they have two games on the road this weekend, one against Kamloops and then Kelowna again. You will likely see Cowan tomorrow, um, because Tamlin will probably play on Saturday against Kelowna the second time.
Oh yeah,
Um, Typically, you're not going to play the starter back-to-back nights on the road, since with the travel, even though I don't believe
right.
Kamloops is that far from Kelowna, probably a couple hours. Um,
Yeah,
but that's probably what you'll see them do. Just if I had to put my Brad Lauer hat on for 15 seconds, that's what I
your
would guess.
Brad
But
Lauer hat.
mhm.
I don't know when Carter Essler and Mathis Preston are going to be back either. I don't know when that tournament ends. Do you know anything about that?
Those tournaments are a mystery to me, man. Like they just pop up out of nowhere, and they're like, "Hey, so and so's going to this tournament in Helsinki, Finland," and I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll see him in
Yeah,
two. I'll
yeah,
see him in 2 to 3 weeks, I guess." Like it really the only international junior tournament I pay attention to is the U20 World Junior, and
right,
occasionally the U18 if there's
for
guys
sure.
on it that I know are going to be incredible. But
Right.
yeah, so
Um,
usually that's where I'm at.
but yeah, I mean, even without Preston and Essler, I don't think that has too much of an effect because this Ryan Tamlin guy is supposedly pretty solid too. He's only played, two or three WHL games, but he was ranked by Central Scouting last year for goaltenders too. And he's a big boy. He's like 6'8". So I do want to see him, play at some point. And I wouldn't be surprised, just get Cowan off his feet for a game, give him a little bit of time to mentally kind of regroup and everything too. I still think that Cowan's going to be the guy to stand on his head for these guys the rest of the season. I don't have any doubt about that. He's more than capable, and this this kind of shit happens to every goaltender too. So
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's just part of the game.
every level of hockey, you live and die by your starting goalie.
100%.
So, when they're going, usually the team's going. When they're not going, usually you see a bit of you know, a hiccup or
Absolutely.
whatever. So
Yeah, 100%.
that's uh, that's kind of where the Chiefs are at. I think, he's not playing super great, but it's more sporadic. Like he'll have these stretches where he lets in some bad goals and then kind of locks in from there. Um,
Yeah. No, I agree. I
it's a
agree.
weird position. I never played it. I can only analyze it from afar.
Yeah.
I know every goalie I've spoken with is a freaking weirdo, but
Yeah.
they in like the most loving way possible.
Different breed.
Yeah, they are. So this is my best analysis of goaltending. So
I agree. And I think you're spot on. You said it much better than I would have said it. So, um, did you follow any of the game on Saturday at all down in Tri Cities?
um no, actually I didn't.
No.
I was really busy that evening. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, just a dominant performance from Tri Cities. I mean, they came out firing in the first period, outshot us 19-7 in the first period, picked up
Hmm.
two goals about halfway through, and neither of them were Callan's fault. I mean, it's the same thing as, turnovers and shooting the puck right into the shins of the defender, and they bounce off and go right the other way on a breakaway. Jake Goodell, former Chief, picked up a goal and an assist. He had himself a good game. He's really playing well for Tri City this season, which I honestly am glad to see because I did like him when he was on the Chiefs, and I was a little bit bummed when we moved him, but I'm glad to
Hmm.
see that he's having success. Although I wish it wouldn't come against the Chiefs, but it is what it is. Um, but Tri Cities, I mean, is it time to start worrying about those guys?
I mean, hey, like we talked about this earlier in the season, like I want the rivalry to be back. It's been
For
dead
sure.
for years. Um, gone are the days of the 2008 playoff run where it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, we were kids, but
Yeah,
I,
I
you know,
remember
I
it.
it's felt like honestly that our biggest rival has been Portland, just because of
100%.
situation, basically a situational rivalry. But with Tri City, I mean, Kennewick's only a couple hours away. It's the rival. It's not that I want them to be good. It's just I wouldn't hate it purely from the fact like I want the hatred back in that rival.
For
Like
sure.
what is the point of saying you're a rival with somebody if it's one sided? Um,
Absolutely.
I I go through this with a couple of my professional teams in other sports where it's like I'll just throw the Bears out there. I'm a Bears fan, and the Packers just beat the brakes off us 2 times a year, and it's not a rivalry. I've been
Yeah.
saying that it's not because it's only a rivalry if it's competitive. So the Chiefs keep on trying to sell this like, oh, rivalry, freaking Friday night, bring the kids out, family feast, Tri City, and then we beat Tri City 6-1, which is fine. It's fun. It maybe gets people to come back, but I I don't know. It'd be more
I
fun
know
if
what
they're
you're
good.
saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. And it goes back to something I said on one of the previous episodes was like whenever Tri-Cities is good, we seem to be good too. It's just
Hmm.
like for some reason that's always been kind of a correlation because that year in 2008 when we won the Memorial Cup, they were the only team in the entire Western Hockey League that was ahead of us in the standings at the end of the season too. And we went to a brutal 7 game series with them. I think 5 of those games went into overtime,
Yep.
and then like 2 or 3 were into double overtime. I mean, it was just an absolute war. And I agree completely. That's great, fun hockey to watch.
Hmm.
And I'd love to see that stuff back a little bit too. I, I, I agree with what you were saying about Portland too, because I feel like ever since that, I think it was 2010, that playoff series we had against them that went 7 games where the away team won every single game in that series, and we blew the 4-1 lead going into the third period, and then Brandon Leipzig scored in overtime and completely killed the season and raised the bar on that rivalry. I feel like ever since then it's been Spokane Portland as opposed to Spokane Tri City. And I feel like Portland and Seattle used to have that kind of a rivalry that the Chiefs and Tri City used to have as well. And I feel like that's kind of died down a little bit in recent years too. Um, so yeah, I'd like to see kind of a little bit of a revival of the, more physical and hatred toward those guys.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
I agree completely.
There's nothing wrong with that in this game. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, and we played them a couple times less per season now with Wenatchee being in the U.S. division too.
Mhm.
I mean, we still play them more than any other team. We played Tri City 10 times still, as opposed to like 13 or whatever it was before. But still, um, I don't think that's going to have too much of an effect on it. But it would be nice to see us kind of competing with them again, kind of like how the first home opener of the season we played Tri City. I mean, it was a pretty even game for the most part. We just ended up coming out on top. I'd like to see more stuff like that.
And I think we will.
I
Um,
agree.
I mean, you said that they always seem to be good when we're good, and we were pretty bad when they were pretty bad. So
It's
they
very
they
true.
seem both franchises seem to follow a lot of the same patterns. And
Yeah.
was it when we went to that preseason game at Eastern,
Mhm.
uh, their GM was sitting right next to ours, right? Or am I thinking of someone else? Or was that
Oh
Portland's
yeah, yeah,
GM?
yeah. It was Portland. It was Portland. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, never
Well, it
never
was
mind.
Mike Johnston.
Okay, yeah. Forget that.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I was misremembering something. But yeah, I mean they seem to follow really similar patterns. Um, don't know why. It just
It just
works
kind
out
of
that way.
plays out that way for sure. But
Hmm.
that's just the competitive nature of the U.S. division too. I feel like because, like you said, there's always at least 4 or 5 teams in the division that are just either solid or just spectacular. And then
Hmm.
there's 1 or 2 that are kind of lacking behind a little bit. And the last few years, it's been Spokane and Tri Cities.
Yep.
So it's for whatever reason that just seems to be kind of a correlation that keeps happening. But I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how everything plays out. I thought that the Chiefs came back in the second and third periods and played a little bit more toward their style of play and controlled play for the most part. Lucas Mateka, Tri-Cities goalie, who's played unreal, which Tri-Cities goalies always play unreal too. And they always somehow get the best goalies. And I think they have their goaltending coaches like Olaf Kolzig still, or I don't know if he might not be their coach, but I know he like is part owner of the franchise or something like
Yeah.
that too. So, having a legendary goalie like that's gotta help your guys between the pipes too. I think, I mean, they've had Carey Price, Chris Drieger, Eric Comrie, Lucas or what's his name? Thomas Suchanik. I mean, they have so many good goalies over the years that they've never had a bad goaltender. I swear.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for it. Like, bring the rivalry back. That's my
100%.
thought on Tri-City.
We need to start that as a hashtag. Bring the rivalry back.
Bring it back.
But another good note from that game against Tri-Cities, Shea Van Olm with another 2 goals, just continuing to rise the ranks in the scoring lead. I mean, I don't know if he's still in the lead, but I know he's in the top 5. Like it's unreal what he's doing right now. Goes back to the leadership thing we talked about earlier too, and he's definitely taking that role and running with it. And I love seeing that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, he's just been an incredible piece of this team ever since they traded for him last year. Speaking of Ulmer, since you're apparently buddies with him on Xbox now, when you get him on here, man, like
I know
apparently you guys are boys.
Yeah, so. I need to start figuring that stuff out. Yeah, it was funny playing Hockey Ultimate Team yesterday and match up with a guy in Hut Champs. His gamer tag is Van Olmy Homie or whatever, and he just absolutely whooped my ass, just ran circles around me. And I saw that his little abbreviation on his team name was SVO, and I'm thinking, something's up here. So I shot him a message on Instagram today, and he said it was him and stuff too. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, not only is he good in real life, but he whoops my ass on Chell too.
Small Spokane, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
And
but
to follow up on point standings, he is currently second in the league.
Yeah. I mean, he's having an unreal start to the season. I really hope that he can continue because at this rate, I mean, he's on pace for 50 goals. Like, we were talking.
That was second in the league in goals. He's fourth in points.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Well, still, I mean, he's still lighting it up. We were talking the last time you were on about, playing on a line with Berkly Catton and stuff too. And, him potentially getting a pro contract at the end of his junior career, which I think is a no brainer right now. Like with the way that he's playing, that's a guy that any team would love to have at any level. And I think that with the growth that he's taken, even from last year to this year, I think he could easily take another step up to play, the ECHL, AHL. Like he's more than capable. He's the perfect type of guy for that. Not that I want to, jump to the end of the season already and start talking about that, but I really like where his game is at right now, and I'm really hoping that he can continue because I'm going to check what he's actually on pace for right now, but it's got to be some crazy number. He's on pace currently for 56 goals and 48 assists, 104 points.
So there's a little underrated thing that people don't talk about enough with hockey. There is a lot of, I'm trying to think of how to put this. A lot of people discount how important it is to have guys that can play with the great players. So what I'm saying by this is Catton is the guy, right? Like
100%.
Bona fide, top 10 overall pick. We already know this. That's happened. That's in the past. So the importance of having someone that can think the game and can have that chemistry to know where the good player is looking to be able to put all those pucks in the back of the net. Because, I mean, how many of his goals are either primary or secondary assisted by Catton. It's all about he knows where Catton needs him to be. So that is the invaluable aspect that NHL teams will be looking or are always looking for, because nothing's worse than having the superstar player, superstar forward, but he can't play with anybody because he thinks the game is such a higher level, and he passes it to where guys aren't, or they're not ready for the pass, or things like that. Like to make a connection, like the Blackhawks have Connor Bedard. Not really anybody can play with him, unfortunately. Right. So granted, they brought Tabo in, and Tabo can play with him. So there's been a little bit of improvement, but that was an issue last year, was that Bedard was basically on an island all by himself, and he still scored like 65 points despite that. So now back to this. That's where Van Olm comes to play. Even if he never sniffs the NHL, which for the sake of bias, let's hope that he does, but even if he never does, you still want to have a guy in the system somewhere that can help with your up-and-coming superstars as they make that transition to the 100%. Next level. And that's where a guy like him can be very invaluable. So, I mean, even if he plays 10 years as an AHL guy and makes $250,000 a year on a two-way contract, maybe gets a call up every once in a while. I mean, hey, man, that's better than 99% of hockey players of all time. So,
for sure.
And that's just hypothetical. But that's where I'm at with Van Olm, is that, and similar to Roulette last year, Roulette played in that role as well, where it was like, well, granted, Roulette was a little bit different because he was a pure scorer and always kind of had been. Van Olm, to my knowledge, didn't kind of have this sort of scoring touch until he got with Catton.
Right. No, you're right, 100%.
And a lot of that has to do with it's Catton getting everybody on him and allowing Van Olm to go where he needs to go to put away these goals. I mean, how many of his goals are within 10 feet of the crease?
Exactly.
And I'm not taking anything away from Van Olm. He's been incredible. And it takes a certain set of balls to go down low and do what you need to do to score. And that's another thing that, if that's a trait that he's going to have, could make him a professional in the future. So
easily 100%. And like you were saying, I was thinking about it while you were explaining that too. It's like Roulette with last season. It's like I feel like a lot of fans were a little bit confused as to why we would give up, higher draft picks for Connor Roulette in the offseason a couple years ago. For a team that, obviously was still going to struggle on paper, and they did end up struggling, didn't make the playoffs last year. I don't think a lot of fans understand the importance of having a guy like that when Catton is 17 years old and playing with a player like that. Because I feel like all that made Catton 10 times the player that he was prior to that.
Yep.
And he put up 55 or whatever goals last year too. And Roulette put up 40 and got 60 assists or whatever it was and stuff too. It's like having a guy kind of bring another guy up as he is going out is huge. And it doesn't matter if they had been on the team previously, as long as they make that connection, like early on, it's like, it's set in stone for the rest of the season. And I feel like that's happened with Van Olm and Catton too. And I think, honestly, I feel like it's not only making Catton a better player, but it's clearly making Van Olm a better player too.
Yep.
And I love seeing stuff like that. And I think even it doesn't matter who you put on a line with them, they're going to put the puck in the back of the net too. I mean, Ekstrom's putting the puck in the back of the net at a pretty decent rate too, playing wing on that line.
Mm-hmm.
So I love seeing that.
Yeah, it's a development league, right? So, you want to see these guys, even if they're late bloomers, take that next step. And if that next step results in a pro contract, that's awesome. If it results in getting to go play NCAA or whatever afterwards, that's also great. I mean, wherever it takes them, or if they never play a second of organized hockey again after their 20-year-old season,
just to get your scholarship.
It's all about development. And, like there's a huge argument to be made that Connor Roulette alone is the reason why Catton was a top 10 pick.
Right.
Maybe Catton was top 15 and then Roulette shows up and right up the draft board he
Yeah.
goes because of the chemistry and everything that they did together. I don't know where Roulette is now.
He's in
Fortunately,
the
you know
East
where he
Coast
is?
League. He's in the
He's in the
ECHL with
ECHL.
Tulsa Oilers. Yeah, he
Okay.
just scored his first professional goal like 2 weeks
Oh,
ago.
cool. Good for him.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could see Van Olm follows the same path, but
Yeah.
from a different way in that Roulette elevated Catton elevated Catton elevated Van Olm, but Van Olm's older. So
Right.
it's kind of a late bloomer thing, but again, development. So
Well, it is what it is. And you see that every once in a while with, even 20-year-olds in the WHL who are still, getting signed even while not necessarily being on any team's radar at all and during their
mm,
entire junior career. You see them getting signed really quickly after their seasons end in juniors. A good example is Eli Zumac a couple of years ago.
yeah,
He got signed. Which he didn't end up actually ever playing, but I know he ended up signing an AHL contract with Providence like immediately after his 20-year-old season ended and stuff too. It's like scouts are keeping an eye on these guys too, because these are the kinds of guys that, again, like you said, can grow in the East Coast or the AHL and then maybe eventually make an impact in the NHL. I mean, how many guys can you think of that were either undrafted or like sixth, seventh rounders that are now, huge performers in the National Hockey League? I mean, I could think of a ton.
yeah. I mean, Braden Point is like the number one example of this.
Yep. 100%. Jamie
Mm-hmm,
Benn
mm-hmm,
at goaltending, even too. I mean, how many goalies? I mean, goalies don't get drafted as as high of a rate as skaters do,
yeah,
obviously. Um, but goalies will be going to camps and then all of a sudden they just turn into brick walls. I mean, it's goalies are a little bit different, obviously, because of it's harder to kind of judge a goalie based off of their potential.
yeah,
But to go along with that, though, I agree, and I think that Van Olm definitely meets the criteria for a similar kind of um position, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I'd be if I was a NHL scout or NHL executive, I'd be keeping an eye on him. And again,
100%.
even if he never sniffs NHL hockey, you would at least stash him away in one of the lower leagues, and he can make a living down there. At the East Coast,
Exactly.
they don't make a lot of money, but still,
No, no, but
it's
it's still
hockey.
money. Like you're still
Hmm.
making enough, like and you're still
Yeah,
playing professional hockey and
yep,
yeah, exactly. Like and I'm sure some of those guys just want to keep playing too. They don't really necessarily care
yeah.
too much,
Or
It's
he
like,
can go to Europe and go live it up in the Swiss league or whatever he wants to do. I mean,
and how
we
many
can
good
have
players do that too?
we can have this conversation with him when you get him on the pod, right?
Yeah,
So,
100%. I
of
mean,
what he would want to do.
I mean, there's so many guys that are in the NHL now that did that move too, and then eventually ended up signing a contract over here. Prime example,
Yep.
Spokane related, Derek Ryan. He went and played overseas for a long time, and then he came back and signed a contract with Carolina Hurricanes quite a while ago now, and now look
Hmm.
where he's at.
Yeah, he's
I
been in
mean,
the NHL for built one hell of a career for himself.
he's still playing too.
Hmm.
I was watching him play before we started recording with the Oilers,
Yep.
and I love seeing that kind of stuff. I always liked his game too. So I think that the potential is there for Europe too. Absolutely.
Yep.
Um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something and I totally blanked it out. Um, oh, I wanted to ask on the power play for the Chiefs. Do we need to get somebody other than Braden Crampton running the point on the first
Uh,
line? Like,
I was waiting for this. Yes, we do. I don't want to pile on him. I don't know if he listens. If he does, shout out. Uh, yeah, they gotta make a move at power play quarterback because he just he shoots it into the guy's shins. He turns it over. He's it that there was a short or two shorthanded goals in the game on that I went to last
mhm,
Tuesday that were directly his fault. I called one of them the second it happened. He pinched the puck up against the boards and he went after the F2 when he should have went after the F1 and the F1 buzzed right by him with the puck and buried it.
mhm. Yep.
And I mean, I like the guy. I do. It's just at a certain point you got to give a younger guy a chance because throw him on PP2, bring up whoever's on PP1 and give it a go because it's not working.
So one of the guys that I was kind of thinking would be a good fit, or at least to try it out, just because he's had a great year so far and he's a lot better with the puck handling this year, is Owen Shetler.
I was hoping you'd say him. I agree.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's another right shot defenseman. He's clearly showing that he's more confident in his game and his abilities this year as opposed to last year. He was a little bit more timid. And, obviously you're going to be timid as a 16-year-old, but he's showing so much more confidence. He has it. I genuinely don't think that he's had a bad game all year, and I
Yep.
think that that's a guy that you should give a shot to on that because like you said, I like Crampton too. I think he's got a good shot, and he's smart. He's not, he's not dumb. He's a good hockey mind, and for whatever reason, I've noticed that the last couple of years he just can't seem to get the puck to the net from the point. And the only way that he does is if he pulls off some miraculous toe drag around him and then, shoots it on net, which he does do quite a bit actually. But more times than not, I seem to be noticing just shots from the point right into the guy's shins. And then again, back the other way. Prime example against Edmonton happened twice in the first period.
Yep.
And then that's something that you can't have. And that's a coach's nightmare. Coaches hate that shit.
Yeah, it's
And
it's poor shot selection.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I mean, it's a kind of a gift, like to get pucks from the blue line on net. Oh, there's the best defense, even the best defensemen of the world don't all have that gift.
for sure.
So it can be very difficult to get a puck down low that way. But yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating when you watch him just send pucks once again and again in the guy's shin pads from 5 feet away. It's like, man,
Mhm.
just probably had an open guy on the wing. Just pass it, you know?
Exactly, exactly. Or another thing, the way that the Chiefs that first line runs the power play is, I mean, they have guys, those three guys with Ekstrom, Catton, and Crampton kind of rotating in the top, kind of an umbrella, but kind of I feel like you got to have Catton running with the puck most of the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I even wouldn't hate seeing Catton go to the point.
No, I agree, and I don't think that'd be a bad move, but we'll have to kind of see if they adjust any of that at all. But
Mhm.
hopefully they do.
Yeah, we'll see. Also, please stop the freaking slingshot power play. I hate it.
Oh my
I
God,
hate
dude!
it.
Don't even get me started on that.
Just skate across the blue line. I hate the slingshot. For
Just let
those that
Catton
don't
carry it
know,
in.
yeah, for those that don't know what that is, it's when a guy is busting up the wing with speed, and then all of a sudden he puts the brakes on and passes the puck backwards. It makes no sense to me. They do it in the NHL, they do it in the AHL, they do it in this league. It doesn't work. Stop doing
I'm
it.
surprised. I'm surprised teams haven't started like running plays to pick that off.
Yeah.
Because again, Crampton doing that, he seems to act like he's so nonchalant about it, but he's not. So,
Yep.
but anyway, I guess we could probably wrap this up and
Sure.
get going. Chiefs play tomorrow night against Kelowna, so we'll see what happens there. Are you going tomorrow?
We'll see. I mean, with a 2 week old baby, I'm day to day.
All right, sounds good. Well,
Yeah.
we'll keep you in the back burner. All right, buddy. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for co-hosting this week.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime.
Appreciate you, and we'll talk at you later.
Awesome.
All right, go Chiefs, go.
Go Chiefs go.